Hello and welcome to Safe Schools. I'm Curtis Graves.
And I'm Andy Howard.
Andy, we have a great show lined up today, man. Something that's relative to the importance of everyone in the city of Mobile, but not just the city of Mobile, and that's threats against school campuses.
It's a big concern, as a school system employee and dealing with things in terms of school safety. Threats against school campuses are a huge concern of ours, and I'm really excited about us having a conversation today on that topic. It needs to be talked about, and it's good that we're going to do that today.
We'll be right back.
As a student in the Mobile County Public Schools, there are a few things I've come to expect. One is a quality education, and the other is a quality lunch. Not only are our school meals well balanced, meeting all federal nutritional standards, but they also have less fat, fewer calories, and they taste really good. Oh, and I forgot to mention, our school lunches contain whole wheat, grains, fruits, and vegetables to give me the energy and brain power to get me through the day.
Smartboard, that's right.
And we're back. We're here with two special guests from the Mobile Police Department. It's Major John Barber and Wanda Rahman, our legal advisor. Welcome, folks, to the show.
Thanks.
Real topic of concern today, and that is threats against school campuses and the legal ramifications of those. But there's so many things happening in our country right now. When we look at social media or the news, we see kids running out of schools because of threats, kids being seriously injured, even sometimes dying on school campuses, all from a threat that occurred on that campus. But when we look at Mobile, what are some of the concerns that we're having right now as it relates to threats against school campuses, Major Barber?
Well, thanks for having us on and giving us an opportunity to talk about it. Right after the first of the year, we had 3 incidents that happened almost consecutively day after day, and that brought concern to us. Right after the first incident happened, we had some threats that were made through social media to Theodore High School, and so that garnered some media attention once it actually got out there that these threats were being made. You can imagine that it was being shared on social media through students as well as parents, and so once we were made aware of it, we had to take quick action to assess the situation, and we were able to identify the student, who was a 15-year-old female student from Murphy High School that was actually making those threats about Theodore. And what was more concerning to us, and it's typical, is that once we see that first one, very typical, we see copycats, that people will mimic what they heard or they saw on that first threat and try to bring it to their schools. And we saw 2 more incidents that occurred that week at 2 middle schools in our area, Causey and also Clark Shaw. And we had young perpetrators, a 13-year-old and a 12-year-old, that were making threats. And unfortunately, in today's society, as a national narrative and also within our local community, every time we hear or it's brought to our attention there's been a threat, we have to take it serious, we have to assess it, and in this case, all 3 individuals were arrested for making terrorist threats, which is a felony.
And I'm going to say this real quick. All our concerns right now are local, and it's not about identifying the fact that we have schools that are having these concerns. This is a nationwide issue, but for us, it's really important that we identify what these threats are so that we can minimize them and stem them so that we can continue to have safe schools on our campuses in Mobile County, because the schools are safe, but there are things that we have to do to make sure that we're being responsive to the needs of making sure they stay safe.
Ramon, in adapting to these realities, you just have to wonder, as a from the parent perspective, what does that mean if my kid makes a call or makes a threat? And how's that going to affect my kid? How's that going to affect my family if my kid makes a threat of that nature?
Well, what typically happens is the police department will investigate the incident. People are not aware, and they should be aware, that we have a cyber intelligence unit with the police department.
Right.
And so anytime someone places a Facebook post or they send a text message or any type of any kind of information over social media, we can determine when that call or when that message was sent, who sent it.
Right.
And so oftentimes, once we make that determination, police department is going to actually go out and have a talk with that child. And it's you know, parents will often say, well, you know, he didn't mean it, she didn't mean it, it was just a joke, or they didn't understand the seriousness of it. But in this day and time, every threat that's made is taken seriously by the department. We look at the national stage of incidents in which threats were made or parents heard conversations and didn't do anything about it. So our city takes all threats seriously.
Right.
And the problem that the children will have is that they will then be placed into the juvenile criminal system.
Right.
And terroristic threats is considered a criminal charge under the Alabama Code. That means it is a Class C felony, and that child will be placed under arrest. They will be booked. They will be ordered to appear before a judge, and there will be a hearing. And what the kids don't understand, and what they really don't understand, is that they might send a message, they think it's a joke, or they're frustrated. They don't realize that when they get before the judge, they're standing alone. So all of their friends who were saying, oh, go do this is really funny, and laughing with them, when they're in trouble and they're standing before the judge, they're standing alone with their parent. No one else is in that courtroom with them. And they have to answer for their behavior. And the law says that if it's a terroristic threat, we're dealing with the intent to cause alarm or fear. And just by posting a picture of a gun and telling someone, don't go to school tomorrow, there's going to be problems, there's going to be bloodshed, or whatever, that is enough to qualify for a terroristic threat. And that starts the process.
Right.
Easy to get into trouble, very hard to get out of it. And once you're in that system, then you know the judge is not going to just let you go and say, well, okay, he didn't mean it, she didn't mean it, I'll go home. The parents are then involved in that, because
Right.
now the parent has to take time off from work. They have to go to court with this child, and depending on what the sentence, the parent is going to be involved, because if they're placed in jail, that affects the entire family.
You know, I love the fact we're having this conversation, because, you know, having a candid conversation about threats on school campuses should be something that everyone's concerned about. Major Barber, how often are we seeing these now?
Too often, even one too many. And what we see is when we see something that happens on a national level. Last year with Parkland in Florida, after that one occurred, we had several local threats that came in. Again, kids trying to mimic what they see on TV or what they hear. And we just cannot have that. We cannot have where our officers are being redirected to, one, investigate. Two, we have officers that will oftentimes put on campus for a day or more. And then all the parents that get worried about, you know, will my campus be the next one? We have to take everyone serious, and even one is way too many.
Yeah, along that line, guns in homes. So we get the call that there's a threat. One of the things that you all have to do is assess, does this person have the capability, the opportunity, and the resources to execute this thing? Mm-hmm. So that's. So now we're at your parents' house.
That's correct.
And now we're trying to assess, okay, are there weapons at your parents' house that you have access to? As Ms. Ramon mentioned, you know, they post things on Facebook, photos of guns. I don't know if a person realizes how alarming that is to the larger community.
We're going to have to take a quick commercial break, but I want us to get back on that subject, because I think that's worth some time talking about. Be right back.
I believe my child's school is probably one of the best ones I could have picked in Mobile. She's in the PACE program. The teachers are phenomenal. The principal, couldn't ask for a better principal. The research that I had done myself, I believe the quality of education in Mobile County Public School System is excellent. For me and my child, I'm going to stick with the public school system. I think it's the way to go.
It's a fact. Bullying happens. Bullying can lead to serious physical and emotional pain. But there are some things you can do to prevent or stop it. Stand up for the person who's being bullied. Let the bully know that it's not cool to pick on others. Take action by reporting the bully to a teacher or principal. In the end, when you help someone who's being bullied, you are also helping yourself.
And we're back. I'm excited to engage this conversation further. I'm just wondering now, so a kid makes a threat, you guys get a call, and you have to make some assessments as to whether that threat has a valid potential of being a concern and needs to be resolved in a legal manner. That might mean going to the house.
We're going to go to the house, absolutely.
And we're looking for certain things to verify one way or the other. What kind of things are you trying to assess and determine when you get to the house?
So you're looking at the child's mental state. You know, are there drawings around suggesting he's had violent thoughts? Are there notes around? Has he actually taken steps to plan this out? You know, are there diagrams of the school or not? And then does he have the means? You know, are we finding any weapons in his room? Are there weapons in the house that he could gain access from their parents? If we find those, you know, we're very likely to have to seize it to prevent the child from gaining access to them. And so it's a very serious matter, not just for the child, but you got to imagine the parents all of a sudden, here are the police coming in their house and now going through the child's room and then through the rest of the house to see what's there. It takes them by surprise, so the child's got to think before they speak about the ramifications of their actions.
Besides weapons that a parent may own in the home, how hard is it for a kid to get their hands on a weapon?
Andy, I wish I could say that it's hard to, but I think we can see that in today's society, the proliferation of guns is everywhere. It's something that we combat in the police department on a daily basis. We had an incident just the other day at Davidson where it was, you know, after hours after a sporting event, but again, where students were on campus for a sporting event and then shots were fired and then 3 of them were hit.
And I think, you know, the thing that people need to take from this conversation is that no one is immune from this. No school is immune. No family is immune from having a bad decision made by a teen that does something that ends up being a very serious thing that happens in the community with ramifications. But I think it's worth mentioning that the schools, I think, are trying to do their due diligence. But there's so much more that needs to be done on the parts of others, along with the Mobile Police Department doing their part. But this is something that has so much concern to everyone involved, and the need for everyone getting involved in trying to make our campuses secure is extremely important.
Parents, you know, we talked off screen about, do you know what your kid's doing from a parent's perspective, Mr. Ron? Going in your kid's room, going in your kid's social media site, looking to see what those kids are doing, because there's a level of culpability and responsibility on the part of the parent for what's happening in their home.
Absolutely. You know, we see oftentimes after a shooting or after an incident at a school, and you find out that child has withdrawn from their social circles. They're having mental issues or health issues, and yet the parent, sometimes the parent tried to get help, sometimes they didn't. But it's going to take a coordinated community response And of course, it starts at home first because the parent or the guardian is the one that sees that child hopefully on a daily basis to see whether or not the personality is changing, if there are some issues. Goes back to asking your kid every day, how was your day?
Right.
What happened today?
Real simple.
Real simple, just real simple, how was your day? Noticing what your kid is wearing.
Changes in behavior,
Changes in
attitude.
behavior, changing in clothes. If you didn't buy that book bag and they come in with a book bag, they come in with a new phone and you didn't buy that phone, where did you get it? Closing up in the room and not talking to anyone in the family, those are signs. And once they get into the criminal system, of course, then, the parents will sometimes, share with us the child was withdrawn. And then, of course, then that adds another layer on how we're going to proceed legally with that issue of a terroristic threat or harassment, because that is a separate charge. You can charge them with terroristic threats, harassing communications, or harassment. Harassing communications is a charge, and it just states clearly that with the intent to cause alarm, that you cause an alarm to someone or you scare them, for example. And so parents need to be aware that just simple words can have a chilling effect, long-lasting effect. And so we do need to have conversations with our kids to let them know that they need to think first before they speak. Teaching them how to have conflict resolution. That just because you're upset doesn't mean that you should be able to just say whatever you want. Or because you didn't study for your test, you don't call in a bomb threat at school so that you don't have to go into school to take your test. Just, and children, for whatever reasons, everything is crucial, everything is very serious for them.
It's the worst thing ever.
Worst thing ever that happened to them. And
Right.
so we have to teach our kids that, we have to accept responsibility for our actions, be held accountable, and to think before we speak and before we act and before we share things.
I know a lot
on
of
social
parents.
media.
I know a lot of parents that are responsible and they try to encourage their children to do the right thing and say the right thing and exercise measured decisions and judgment. Some escalate things. Some plant seeds with their children that I don't know if they fully appreciate the consequences of contributing to or increasing or encouraging their children to do things inappropriately, ill-advisedly.
Yeah, as we know, we call it political socialization. Socialization. We first learn from our parents. We mimic our parents. They are our first role models. They teach us how to resolve conflict. And so if we see mama and daddy responding and as I like to say, going 0 to 100 real quick, then
That's the lesson.
that's
the
lesson
instruction
that the
you're
kids
giving me.
learn that, okay, that's how I resolve conflict. So we, even if you do have a parent like that, what we can do is combat that with the school systems of having your parents, other parents, and having your teachers and your aides and cafeteria workers and anybody that has contact with the children during the day to engage these children, to let them know that this is, it is not okay to respond in certain ways, and to let them and to teach them that yes, it's okay to have emotions, it's okay to be angry, it's okay to be frustrated. It is what you do with those emotions and
Right.
how you respond and how you react.
Everybody
Because
gets angry.
Absolutely.
And on that note, let's take a quick commercial break and let's get back into that right before we close. Okay. Be right back.
Hello, my name is Abby Dinkins. My children go to E.R. Dixon Elementary School. The education that my kids are getting, it's tremendous. There's one time that I thought about homeschooling my kids because I wasn't sure, we're new here. And when I enroll my children at the public school and I'm just blown away because the teachers are nice, the curriculum itself is different. I believe in Mobile County public school education for preparing my children for life.
At Mobile County Public Schools, we believe it starts with us. That's why we offer Signature Academies.
Hello, I'm Jordan Clark, and I'm in the Health Service Academy at John L. LaFleur Magnet High School. My future career is to be an obstetrician gynecologist. With this academy, I'm learning firsthand from people already working in the industry. Shadowing them on the job really makes me want to study hard and work harder towards my career goals.
Signature Academies are open to all students in Mobile County Public High Schools. Visit mcpss.com.
When we're back, Wanda, you were talking about the dynamics of what a parent ought to know and do. Please continue. You were just saying that what we're doing about how we inform our kids appropriately, inappropriately, and what that might mean in terms of our children's reaction and how that might affect not only the community, but the school in particular.
Well, just to expound on what I was saying, to just be involved in our children's lives, to be present, because by the time they get into the system, the criminal justice system, and I speak with them, the concern is, I don't want my child to have a record. I don't want my child to be arrested. Can't y'all just let it go? And can we just explain this away?
No, we can't.
Well, we can't just explain it away. We have a saying in the police department, you can't unarrest someone.
Right.
Once a person has been arrested, they are arrested. They have an arrest record. Their fingerprints are on file. And it is long lasting. And so as parents, if we see our children in trouble, we need to try to get help. We need to ask any and everybody to help and not get so frustrated that we give up and say, well, it's going to be somebody else's problem, or say, oh, this child is a loose cannon. What are we going to do to make sure that person is reeled in, that they get the help that they need? Because we can go anywhere in our community and see children who are acting out. And our response is, better not say anything because this kid might lose it on us, as opposed to trying to find out what is really going on with this child.
And, you know, we see so many threats, but what are we seeing most, John? Major Barb, what are we seeing?
Like you said, we see it a lot of different ways, but you know, typically it's about shooting up a school. And what we see more so than other times is through social media, through apps, and through text messages where these statements are being made. And I think that the person sending that feels like there's some kind of anonymity involved where I can send it, say what I want, and there's no repercussions for that. And that's not the case. It's just as valid if they did it face-to-face, if they do it through a Snapchat or through some kind of app. Them calling the police dispatch and saying there's a bomb at the school. Again, if you cause public alarm, that's making a terrorist threat.
Yeah.
And so, you know, again, through these apps, we can track you down, and when we find you, I mean, you're looking at a very serious charge.
And there lies the question, when a lot of times people don't realize, you know, they hear terrorist threat, and they're like, I'm not a terrorist, my child's not a terrorist. Wanda, what's the terrorist threat?
In plain, simple English, it is communicating a threat with the intent to cause alarm, hysteria, to be noticed. That's all it takes, is the intent to cause someone to take a step back and say, whoa, let me look at this, oh my God. And everybody is in hysterics and they're trying to address that issue. So anytime your statement is such that people, law enforcement, your schools, parents, students, stop to pay attention to it, that is considered a terroristic threat. So it can be showing of a handgun. It can be, you better not go to school tomorrow or you won't come home, or there's something big gonna happen tomorrow, I'm gonna make national history. That is considered enough to get our attention. And on the federal level, we have seen a lot of agencies and the federal government try to educate school systems and authorities about assessing threats. We all know that no matter what the threat is, we are going to take it seriously. And so, you know, little Johnny at home who says, I didn't mean it, and start crying, of course, as a parent, you're going to say, well, my son didn't really mean it. Mm-hmm. But we don't know little Johnny. We don't know little Johnny's history. We don't know that Johnny is allowed to have temper tantrums and he acts out. So when you say he acts out, we have to take it seriously.
I like to think
that's
of
the bottom line.
I like to think of the 3 stages. You know, you think it, you say it, what's left.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Last 2 questions that are really, really important toward the end of this is, what do we need parents to do to help us? Because we need their help. And how do they go about reporting to law enforcement in a timely manner so that we can reduce or minimize the threat of harm to others? I'll direct the first question to Wanda.
Okay. What we need to do as parents is to be present in our children's lives. That means when the child gets home from school, need to be present, and if you can't because you work, you need to be talking on the phone. Everybody's got a cell phone. How was your day? What did you do at school today? What happened at school today? You know, actually go into your children's bedroom and actually open the drawers and look at their computers and look in their purses and their backpacks and their wallets. If they got a car, go into their glove compartment. I'm saying
be a practicing
parent
right.
and not turn your head.
Yeah.
And then if you see a child that's watching certain television shows and it's all dealing with violence and the music that they're listening to glorifies violence and stuff, then you need to have that conversation with the child and actually ask the child, you're watching this, what does this mean? Do you understand what this show is talking about? Do you understand what this song is saying? And listen to the lyrics of what your children are listening to. And you know, of course you're going to get the pushback, oh, mom, oh, dad, you know, I've got privacy, I'm 15, I'm 16, I'm 12, I know what I'm doing. No.
And don't assume.
And don't assume anything. And so if you see something, you need to say something.
Last question, 30 seconds. John, what does Mobile PD and other law enforcement agencies need people to do when they know about these things?
Curtis, the police cannot be everywhere. There are thousands upon thousands of eyes that go to school every day. And so when they see something, they need to say something to an administrator. If it's an immediate threat, call 911. But we need them to continue to bring us the information that somebody's got a gun on school, somebody's made a threat, here's a post on social media that I've seen. Bring it forward. Say something to someone and let us evaluate it and take it from there. That's what we need from us.
And there you have it.
Say something, say something. That saves lives.
There you have it. This has been a great show, very informative, and thank you for taking time out of your all schedules and coming out and sharing this information. This has been a Safe School.
Thank you.
Thank you all.